And welcome to On the Spot this week. My name is Kevin Hill, here with Andrew Cox instead of JP Hampstead. This week, we were just over there talking to Zach Strickland about the market and about how the supply chain is reacting, and there's not capacity anywhere. Warehouse workers to ships to trucks to drivers. There's just really no capacity to tap into right now at all, is there, Andrew?
No, and there's not. And I think it's a good point you make. Just labor, I think, is a major issue right now. We know this, but the Port of LA, we know that there's 65 ships parked out there in the San Pedro Bay. Mm-hmm. They're running 3 shifts to try to get that cleared up, but you still need the rails and you still need the trucks to clear those ports, right? And they're making some headway. I think they've got it down to 62 ships or so. I check the marine exchange every morning to get the port update, but it's just been hovering there between 60 and 65 for a couple weeks now.
And our very own Mark Solomon sent out a Slack in our editorial chat channel this morning about another article really detailing and research detailing the shortage of warehouse workers. And that is a problem. If you can't get warehouse workers, then it's going to become even tougher and harder to get truck drivers, right? I mean, so capacity, I don't see, until the employment and the labor shortage ends, I don't see any new capacity coming into the market throughout the supply chain, but especially as we talk about the spot market and trucking, the driver pool, getting capacity out there is just not going to happen right now.
Yeah, this is just such a persistent issue. This is kind of what we discussed with Zach about, I don't know, I think Bill Priestley was the one that asked me the other day. He said, what have you been surprised by over this past year in the supply chain? And this industry is so historically undisciplined with CapEx that you would think that we could at some point get some capacity into this market. But again, it comes down to the labor, it comes down to new trucks. Just look at used truck prices if you want to understand. Right? What was that?
Semiconductors.
Yeah, semis. I mean, it's the supply chain, and the supply chain has broken down.
They're undisciplined with CapEx, but there's nowhere to spend the CapEx right now.
Exactly.
Packer is basically shut down production. They had, as of a month or two ago, I haven't heard any updates on this, but they had 4,000, 5,000 vehicles out with red flags waiting for parts to actually complete the production. So if you can't get your hands on new trucks, if you can't get your hands on and recruit drivers, then there's no money to splurge on CapEx when there's good times, which makes me wonder about, it's all cyclical. So what happens after this cycle?
Yeah, if the big guys can't buy new trucks, they're usually the ones that snatch up most of the new trucks, and then they flood the used truck market with their used trucks. They're holding on to those used trucks longer, and you see the price for used trucks. I think a three-year-old truck costs $90,000 right now, where it was $58,000 last year. So just more barriers to entry for owner ops and for carriers, small carriers, to grow as well. So let's jump into some sonar charts here. We've got our volumes, outbound tender volume index here, and the reason I wanted to bring this up was just how eerily familiar the seasonal pattern is between 2021 and 2020. As Zach called it, it is simply human behavior. I would have thought possibly with as many retailers pulling forward their holiday shopping deals, you might have seen a little bit of an earlier push higher, but we haven't seen that to date. And I think that a lot of that the same thing happened last year. Companies tried to pull forward deals last year, and we just simply have so many bottlenecks around the supply chain that I don't think things are reaching final destination yet.
They are not, and Q4 and Christmas is going to be a time where you're going to see a lot of expedited loads. You're going to see a lot of activity going forward. When you look at 2020 and 2021, what really sticks out to me is this is a very cyclical industry. You have 12 to 18 month cycles. 12 to 18 months. We had 2018, late 2017 into about the first 3 quarters of 2018, very strong. And then you saw the slide down. It's a very slow, gradual slide down. 2019. Not much going on in the market whatsoever, right? We spent 2019 here wanting for something to happen, something did, probably not what we wanted to happen, but we're on a very long part of this cycle. I mean, this has been going on for quite some time. Like, we're getting up to that 18-month period and no relief in sight. So I wonder how long this bull market in trucking can continue.
Yeah, but we think about in 2 buckets, drivers of demand and constraints on capacity. I don't see any of those buckets getting any relief anytime soon, right? We still have consumer demand that we talked to Anthony about. Net debt to net assets is one of the highest, or one of the lowest it's been since the 60s. We've had wage growth. We still have lots of open jobs. We had 4.3 million Americans quit their jobs in August. That's the highest number on record dating back to 2000. Consumer confidence is still a little bit below where it was pre-pandemic, but in general, 22 months into a pandemic, consumer confidence is doing pretty darn well. And we look on the manufacturing side, it's sluggish because of labor and because of raw material shortages and such, but it's still pushing. They're still trying to pump out. We still got the housing market that's very strong. All of these demand drivers are pushing forward, and our capacity constraints. We've still got driver training schools that are not at full capacity. We don't have CDL issuances where we want them to be. And on top of that, used truck prices are going through the roof, and we can't get any new trucks built. So I mean, there's just so many constraints that I don't see working themselves out anytime soon.
Yeah, you have to think, 3, 6, 9 months down the road. We don't really see any early signs of this market going away or deteriorating in any significant fashion for the next 6 to 9 months, certainly.
Yeah.
And that takes us really into almost Q3, and to the Christmas and the holiday season. Beginning of the shipping patterns, right? Where you're talking about importing everything from Asia. So
yeah, the only thing I would mention here is that we keep moving the goalposts a little bit back. Timing this top is really difficult for all of us. But our year-over-year comps are going to get really difficult as well in the early part of next year. So we're going to have to do a really good job of understanding 2-year comps stacked and such because where we had really easy comps earlier this year and we were having to do 2-year comps, we're going to have very hard ones next year. So going to be something to watch. All right, that's been On the Spot today for this Wednesday, October 13th.